fast, die young, bad girls, do it well. Live fast, die young, bad girls, do it well. Live fast, die young, bad girls, do it well.
Hi, everyone. Since we're trying this new format, we felt like we needed props. We're hand talkers, so what better way than to drink some wine while we have a conversation, right? It's happy hour somewhere. My name is Jody Carraris. I manage the editorial team at Demand Media Content Solutions. My group is responsible for strategy and content creation for brands. So I'm super excited to kind of chat with Erica Gessen. She works for Constellation Brands, which is the #1 premier wine group in the world. And Erica manages the digital, social, and mobile marketing for 7 of the 80 wine brands, including Robert Mondavi Private Selection. It's a great cab that we're drinking, as well as Kim Crawford and Woodbridge. So when Erica and her team came to Demand Media, I was super excited because I love wine, we love wine, she works with wine. So, but in addition to that, what we thought was really great was that, here's a brand that really understands content marketing and is using content marketing to build out a strategic content strategy. So, Erica, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
So let's jump right into it. So kind of tell us, what was your motivation about using content marketing and strategy?
Well, we know content marketing is sort of a hot button issue right now. It's not something that we can ignore. Rather, it's definitely a huge opportunity for us. And as a big company with a lot of brands under our portfolio, we felt that it's really important for us to get in the content game, get our feet wet. But equally important for us is that we do it in a very strategic way. We're a very data-driven company, so it's just really important to us to find the right partner to work with just out of the gate to ensure that we're leveraging the right insights, creating the right content.
So what brought you to Demand Media?
So what brought us to Demand Media was that for us internally, we don't have a lot of resources. I think like a lot of brands, we don't have an internal copywriter or photographer or videographer. We've got one graphic designer. So it's definitely hard for us to produce the content that we envision. So definitely looking for a good partner like Demand. We love that Demand has a network of over 3,000 content creators that we could tap into.
So when you first came to us, you actually enlisted us for content strategy for Constellation Brands. Why did you start with strategy first before jumping into content creation?
Like I said, Constellation's a very data-driven organization. I myself, a self-professed data geek. So for us, everything that we do is grounded in insights. We literally do not begin a single project without leveraging some sort of data. It's really important to us to think consumer first and looking at our audience insights and making sure we have a really deep understanding of our consumers' purchase behaviors, their wine consumption habits, married with their online behaviors and preferences. So we wanted to work with Demand Media to really, we were excited to work with Demand because Demand has a proprietary interest index tool that we were able to tap into to look at things like search volume trends and seasonal data and really give us a good idea of what was the right content to create at the right, the right time of year. And so
and so this is just an example on screen of the personas and lookalike audience that we worked with Erica and her team on using our proprietary insights and content consumption data. We call them Brian and Jessica. And so we really kind of use that around the strategy of starting to create the content for Constellation Brands. But what challenges had you experienced prior to working with us in ramping up your content marketing efforts?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we're very resource constrained internally, like a lot of big organizations. We're still identifying what the right processes are. So with working with Demand Media, we were able to really have a 360-degree program. Really starting with the data to formulate the right strategy, working with your creative team to identify what are the right pieces of content for that audience, and then working with our social team to identify what are the right channels for distribution, all the way through, developing our measurement plan.
So you work, Constellation is such a large brand. Did you need to get buy-in before you kind of started the content creation and content strategy process?
We actually didn't need to get buy-in for our initial pilot program. We really kind of just went in with the understanding that this is going to be a test and learn program. It was something that the digital marketing team, really was passionate about, really wanted to get behind content marketing and develop learnings that we could share out with the rest of the organization to be able to say, these are the best practices, this is the type of content that resonates with the wine consumer, here's how we should seed the content, here's how we measure the content, and so on.
So kind of when we first started working together, in addition to the strategy, we used the strategy to inform creating a few pieces specifically for Constellation brands. Then after that, we moved on to creating recipe content for Woodbridge and Robert Mondavi Private Selection. So how did you decide, seeing that each brand has their own voice and brand and goals, how did you decide on which brands to work with first?
It was actually a really fun process. Out of the gate for the pilot program, we decided to create a quiz, because we know those are really popular right now on Facebook, as well as a decision tree. And both of those pieces of content we had timed around Valentine's Day with the intention of using the content to help drive people down the purchase funnel. So the quiz was sort of intended to help make our brands top of mind right before the Valentine's Day wine occasion. And then the decision tree was to help them feel good about how much to spend on a bottle of wine. So it was fun. And choosing the brands for the quiz, the title of the quiz was From First Date to Facebook Official, Which Wine Pairs Best with Your Relationship?
Which we really intentionally targeted millennials and kind of their Facebook consumption on using that.
Yes, and it was fun. I mean, once we came up with the title, the brands just sort of fell in naturally. We have one brand that's their positioning and tagline for Mark West Wines is monogamous, totally devoted to Pinot. So naturally, that became the wine that was paired with someone in a long-term monogamous relationship. And then we have a varietal of Dreaming Tree wines called Crush. So that was, that lent itself really well to being the wine paired with the new relationship, someone who's, just dating. And then we had Rouge, which is a red blend by Clos de Bois. That became our wine for the people that are in really red-hot, passionate relationships. So it was fun. I mean, it was nice to see how we were able to take each brand's unique selling propositions and find ways to fit them into the creative in ways that were really natural and organic.
So in addition to creating the quiz and decision tree and a few of the recipes, we are now entering into utilizing more of the 20+ formats that our team offers, and one of them is a checklist. And we're kind of focusing now on Robert Mondavi Private Selection in particular. So kind of what was your thought process around deciding what formats? How did the strategy and content recommendation from our team play into that? And was the brand in particular the key driver in that decision making as well?
Yeah, we used a lot of the insights from the initial research around some of the seasonality trends, things that we learned around what type of content people were looking for in the winter versus the fall. Are they looking for red wine or white wine? And then we took some of the learnings from the pilot. The quiz performed exceptionally well. We had over 80,000 respondents to the quiz. And we know that the quiz is a very popular format for millennials. Robert Mondavi Private Selection is laser focused right now on targeting millennials. So we thought, okay, that's definitely a perfect format for that brand. And then knowing that millennials are so active across all devices and every social media channel, it's equally important to be everywhere that they are and have content that fits natively within those platforms. So that's sort of how we made the decision for Robert Mondavi Private Selection to use. I think we have a quiz, a decision tree, an infographic, a checklist. We have wine cocktail recipes, pinnables for Pinterest.
So what was kind of the main objective of creating this content, and did social amplification play a part in the strategy?
Right. Well, for the pilot, as I mentioned, our objective was 100% just to test and learn. We just wanted to see how, what insights we can extract and then put those into action. With RMPS, I think it gets really interesting. Our objective for that brand is really to amplify what is going on with the brand and other channels. So right now, RMPS has a TV ad that is live. You might see it over the next few months. And the brand positioning for RMPS is for real. And it's all about authentic winemaking, sense of place. So we really wanted to amplify the TV campaign and bring the For Real platform to life in the social space through content. So what I love about not only the content that we've created, because I think the content is just dead on for millennials, is also how we're using data to seed the content as well. So we're partnering with a third-party data provider called Datalogics, but through working with Datalogics, we're able to target verified wine buyers of our competitors on Facebook. So the objective is really to steal share from our competitors and bring the For Real platform to life. And I love how we've just partnered with
That's what I
Demand
was going to say. And then we work closely with you on digesting that data and using our own insights to really kind of build the overall strategy and content and voice and tone to not only target those millennial wine consumers, but also that's in line with the Robert Mondavi Private Selection brand. And so on the screen are some of the results. Can you kind of tell us about some of the data, and has this data influenced the future of your content marketing strategy?
Absolutely. The pilot, as I mentioned, was super successful. The quiz drove so much more engagement than we had ever expected. And one of the things that we wanted to test was we put the quiz and the decision tree that we created with Demand, as well as some of the content that we've just been producing all along for social media. So we often produce recipes, wine pairings, videos, wine quotes. These are just things that we do every day just to keep the social media, pipeline full. So we put all this content on one site called wine.social, and we use the quiz. We use Facebook advertising to drive traffic to the quiz on this site. And what we found was that engagement with the quiz was nearly 3 times higher than engagement with any of the other content, meaning that people spent on average about 3 minutes time on site with the quiz. And that was much higher than our second most popular content type, which was our recipes, and that came in at 24 seconds. So, definitely the quiz was a strong performer for us. But then what we also noticed is that while traffic from the quiz was coming into the site, we knew people were coming for that reason. They were also staying on the site to check out some of the other content. And what we saw was that recipes drove 40.3% of the organic traffic. So of all of the content that we've been creating on our own, we know that recipes work. So we used that, we used those insights. We came back to Demand and we said, okay, we need more recipes. And so we created a series of recipes for Woodbridge and Robert Mondavi Private Selection.
So your strategy has really been test, and then iterate, right?
Yes.
And pivot. And for your brand, that works. What advice would you give brands who are just starting to get into content and content marketing?
Absolutely. Take a test and learn approach. There's just so much to learn with every piece of content, and how you can optimize on every learning. And then I would say use data at every single step of the way, from using data to inform what content to create, understanding your audience, and then use data to help seed the content as well. So whether you're if you can work with a partner like a Datalogics, or just using Facebook's native advertising targeting, use as much data as you can to target the right people, and then on the back end, use the data to measure, and then iterate. Some of the other things that we do with the data is we have retargeting pixels on all of our sites. So we know when someone takes the quiz and then comes to the site, we can then remarket to them specifically with another piece of content that's similar to the one that, that they liked.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We just have a few seconds left, but does anybody have any questions for Erica? I can't really see. But... Great. Well, thanks, Erica. It was great discussing content with you. Oh, wait, we have one.
No, it sounds like you guys make an awesome team, so congratulations to both. As far as the content, though, is there a distribution strategy?
Yes, we spend a lot of time creating our distribution strategy. We have a team of social media managers in-house. So we really work all of our channels as well. Obviously, we're seeding the content through social. We try to use all of our own paid and earned channels. We used a lot of paid to act as a catalyst for seeding this content. I particularly subscribe to the Big Seed strategy created by Duncan Watts back in '07, if anyone's familiar with that. As I mentioned, I'm a data geek. So paid is always a big component. We also use websites. We'll have all the content on our different brand websites, through our email channels, as well as partnering with some of our retailers to distribute the content on our behalf. That's been a big learning for us too, is that the retailers that sell our wine are just as hungry for content as we are. So they love when they're able to share our content out to their audiences too.
Great. Any other questions? Great. Thank you.
All the time we have, but thank you,
Thank
ladies.
you.
So we've been